Well, it's September, early part of September. I'm finally feeling well enough to get back in the hangar and do a little bit on the plane. So that's where I'm at today, and Tailwheel. Gonna show you what I'm doing on the Tailwheel. What I got here is a Shockmonster Tailwheel assembly from TK Racing. I bought and received a Acme Aero Stinger before this. And I was told by Acme, oh yeah, it'll fit the S-21, no problem. I got it, and it would have fit. It would have required possibly some reworking of some brackets, maybe. It would have taken more work than I wanted. I really was looking for a bolt-on solution. I don't really want to fiddle with stuff up inside here. I would have kept the leaf spring here. Like, I had no intention of switching over to a suspension system just yet. I knew I would eventually. I would have kept the leaf spring here, but as in a previous video where I put the landing gear on, I forget what episode that was, but it was a while back, I mentioned how this leaf spring geometry is whacked. The bolt, you can even see, well, I talked about it in the other video. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking here about it, but the spring comes down at an angle. When you try to tighten this bolt, it bends the skin and the former here, the station. It's just not right. And as I mentioned in the other video, RANS didn't. They just said, yeah, that's how it is. So not acceptable to me. So I'm going to go ahead and make the switch over to the suspension tailwheel. I went with the Shockmonster with TK Racing. I talked to Tony over there. Super good service. The guy, very responsive, took my call, answered all the questions I had, said, yes, this is a direct bolt-on for the S-21. They even include a new bracket. This piece here, if you can see, this machine piece, they include that with the kit. Somewhere over here, I've been just throwing parts here in the hangar. It's just kind of unorganized because I haven't been able to get in here and really do anything, but this is the bracket, or the machined piece, the block that they include. It's basically the same. It just changes the geometry a little bit of the angle of the holes for the bolts that go up. So it is a direct bolt-on, so they say. I'm going to find out here shortly. Looks like it's going to be. And other thing I noticed, the Shockmonster is quite a bit lighter than the Acme Stinger. And this comes with the whole tail wheel. The wheel, the tire, tube, the fork, the whole deal. $1,700 roughly, I believe. Same price was the Acme Stinger, but the Stinger did not include any tail wheel stuff. No fork, no tire, no wheel, no tube, nothing. You had to use, I would have probably tried to find a way to adapt this to it. And that was another reason I didn't really want to fuss with that. Whereas this is ready to rock. All in one, bolt on, off you go. So I'm going to work on that today. This will be my first project since I've not been feeling well, and I'm looking forward to getting in here and actually getting something done on the airplane. First order of business here is going to be to take this stupid thing off. Be happy to get rid of this. Let's get this off. I was curious to see the weight difference between these two assemblies, and this is a fair comparison because this is a full assembly with the tail wheel and a full assembly with the tail wheel as it would bolt to the airframe. So I weighed the stock RANS, and it comes in at exactly 10 pounds. And the TK Racing Shockmonster tailwheel came in at 12 pounds, 6 ounces. So just under 2.5 pounds heavier for the Shockmonster. Now that I've got the stock tailwheel assembly removed, I'm gonna go ahead and get in here. It's gonna be a little tricky, but I gotta get in there and take that block out. I'll remove that block and replace it with the TK Racing one. Well, I got the block out of there. I will tell you, it wasn't easy. If you're planning on running a Shockmonster, I would highly recommend do it. Like, if you're thinking about it, just do it, because to change it out later is a little more involved. I'll show you the two blocks here side by side. So here is the factory block. Here is the shock monster. And one thing I notice immediately is it looks like these get opened up to 1/4 inch, which I like. And the holes are straight through. You can see how the blocks sit at an angle. The holes in the shock monster go straight through, whereas the holes on this block were angled. So little changes there. But I'll go ahead, it looks like I'll have to open that up to 1/4 inch, those two holes on the bottom. It's an easy fix. And I'll get this block in there. Okay, so I opened these up to 1/4 inch, and what I'm finding is I'm gonna have to do a little more work. The holes don't line up. They line up left to right. This center to center, left to right is fine, but the holes in the block are back a little bit. And the reason, it makes sense now that I look at it. Let me grab this. So when you look at the block here, and you compare it to the RANS, you can see these holes are a little, this is the forward end of the airplane is this way. The holes are a lot closer to the bulkhead on the RANS block than they are on the TK Racing block because it's thicker and they've just centered the holes in the block. So no big deal. I'm just gonna have to slot these holes here. I'm gonna slot them back about 1/8 of an inch. And to do that, I'm probably gonna use a Dremel with a carbide burr and just take it easy, slow speed, and kind of work my way back. Well, I feel dumb. I spent all this time in here and I'm still trying to fight to get those nuts on there. Well, you know, I didn't put this piece on yet. It's just Clecoed. How's that for access? I got that block in there. It was so much easier being able to get in there from here. This is what happens when you spend nearly 3 months away from this and your mind still isn't 100% sharp. Anyways, I'm glad I got this figured out. Also, by the way, it would have been a lot easier to have bolted this thing in and just run a long 1/4 inch drill bit down through here to get the holes where they need to be in the skin rather than coming from the bottom and doing the carbide burr to open up that hole. Anyway, I got it. So now it's gonna be a direct bolt on. I'll go ahead and get this thing fit. Got it installed. One thing I'm gonna do, I'm noticing, you'll see the rivet heads here are kind of protruding and hitting the block here for the tail wheel. Same here, it's just catching that. And then back here as well, there's a couple rivet heads. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make probably a 70 thousandths aluminum shim. I'll machine it to the same profile as this piece here. And then I will relieve the areas where these rivet heads are, and it'll push it down and basically just create a shim to clear those heads. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and leave this as it is. It was a pretty straightforward install. Oh, one thing I had to do, the nuts they provide, the AN nuts here, lock nuts, it was too close, and even on the flat up against the bulkhead, it was spaced too far away, and I couldn't grab the bolt. So I ended up using it's an MS metal lock nut -4, and I just went ahead and put those on there. So that works. It's the only change I had to make, and pretty straightforward. So now I'm gonna set this thing down off the stand and get it weight on the wheel. Well, there you go. Geometry worked out pretty nice. It doesn't have all the weight on it, of course, right now, and it's not even squatting it at all, but there's plenty of weight that's going to get added on once this thing is done. Geometry looks good. The kingpin, I call it the kingpin, I don't know, the axle that it rotates about vertical is just a little bit raked back. That will, once it's under load and there's a slight bit of pull on that spring, that might come back to more vertical, but that's fine. That's kind of how you want it. You don't want it going the other way, raking forward. That could set up possibly some shimmy. So I like it.